Okay, we're gonna go ahead and start with Megan then. Megan, what do you have going on this month?
No, not me. Start with literally anyone else.
Okay, literally anyone else. Alice, you were the next
Sorry,
one
I'm
in the
just
waiting
trying
room.
to make breakfast because I'm starving to death.
Absolutely fine. Sorry about that, Megan. I think you said that and I just disregarded it. Alice,
Okay,
you were
all
next.
right. So I have started Greta on dried poop and learning quite a few things along the way because I don't know very much to start with. So I'm going to learn a lot. So it is harder for her to find it, and I started indoors, and since I don't want to put poop on the floor indoors, I put it on a little bitty lid. And she was finding that pretty well. And I put it on a different kind of lid and she found that. But then when I put it outside on the lids, she found it. And when I didn't use the lids and put it right on the ground, she was having a much harder time. So obviously the lids were part of her cue to find it, to
Interesting.
recognize. So now I've been trying to do little bitty easy searches outdoors without lids. And so I have a video that shows I use a lid and then I put it on grass. And then for the third search, I put it on gravel and it's all visible, but she had the hardest time finding it in the grass. And she walked over it several times and didn't find it. And then she found it. So I'm not exactly sure what that tells me, but it just tells me I need to make the searches really, really easy till she's good at it. I'm also trying to get her. I decided I'd rather have a sit indication rather than a down because she's a little bit funny about different areas and she might not feel comfortable enough to lie down in some areas. So I think a sit might be a good compromise. And then I'm also starting my big dog, Emmett. And I know I asked this question in the group about golf balls and heard why they're not a very good choice. But the thing about golf balls is my husband hits them into the pasture practicing, and he wants Emmett to go find them. And so
That's a pretty good reason.
So I'm starting him with a golf ball, and he's never done anything except food searches. I don't have a video of him. I will for next time. And another thing I decided is that it's really not a good idea for some dogs to start with food searches because the food is, he's really good at the food searches indoors. But then I say, okay, you're going to find the golf ball. And he says, oh yeah, here's the golf ball. Now I'll go look for the food. So he needs a lot more help. He needs a lot more help to understand that he has to stop and sit. So I'm trying to do his indications separately indoors and just
Smart.
do hundreds of repetitions of here's the golf ball, sit, treat, golf ball, sit, treat. We're working on it. Anyway, I'll show you my video of Greta. Is it better for me to just put a link in the chat and everybody can link to YouTube, or is it better for me to share my screen? Because
I think either one will work. Probably let's have you share your screen for now. If my internet was really fast, I would just share it. But my internet might be the weakest link we have, so probably not best to rely on it.
Which of these little things at the bottom is a screen share?
The center one, it's green on my screen.
Green. Okay, got it. Okay, first let me bring up the video. And here it is.
Close down your bank statements,
Okay, I'll stop this video. Let's see. I want it at the beginning and stopped. Okay, there it is. So now I'm going to go screen share. I'm going to share this screen. Oh, well, all right. How does that work? Because I'll say share. Okay, did it work?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, good. All right.
Nailed it.
All right, so here we go. And I should turn off my camera too, because that takes up bandwidth. Okay, here we go. So this one's on the plastic lid. You can kind of see it there. And she's in a pen on the left-hand side, so she can actually sort of see where I put it. And there she finds it. So I made them really easy because outdoors is harder for her to keep her
Perfect. Yeah.
concentration. Okay, now here I put it over here on the grass. And see, she goes really, really close to it. And then just kind of keeps going, but she knows it's somewhere.
She's got it. Yeah, she's just working it. It's hard.
This one's a pretty dry specimen.
Were those two videos pretty close in time? Like, is this the same training session?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And she keeps working. I know I probably shouldn't have been creeping forward, but I wanted to see what was going on.
Yeah.
And there she finally.
Nice. Good girl.
Okay, and this one is just on the gravel here. And this one is so simple because I think she can see it. So the visual is a lot of it for her right now.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know about her.
I mean, she's obviously sniffing too, but.
Oh, she almost sat on that one too. She thought about it. Excellent.
Okay, so that's what we've been doing. And I also found out, okay, for storing the poop, it has to be like super, super, super dry if I store it in an airtight container, or else it gets moldy.
Yes.
And so with this, I can, substitute newer samples. So should I start using stuff that's not quite as dry in some of the searches too, so she gets a variety of?
Yeah, as much
ages?
as you can. And that also will be a little bit easier because it'll be more volatile.
Right.
Dry stuff is hard. You also, you can kind of semi-dry some stuff, like air dry it or sun dry it for a day or two, and then keep it in the freezer.
Oh, freezer. Good idea. Okay.
Yep.
I didn't think of freezer.
Yeah.
Okay,
but yeah, I mean, it's crazy too, just depending on your climate where you are, what's going to be available to you as far as dried stuff. I had a training bat from our project last year that was totally fine for a year. And then I brought it to Central America and it sprouted mold.
Oh.
And then my other training bat didn't. So, who knows?
Yeah.
Hypothetically, they were dried about the same amount if, they were within a couple days of each other, and who knows? So yeah, I think as far as that, the one on the grass that was a little bit harder, it did look like she had the odor and she worked it nicely. She was independent. She didn't look frustrated. I wouldn't be super worried about that session. I wonder if there was something kind of weird happening with the two buckets as far as odor kind of moving, and it was longer grass. And I can't tell you exactly what I would think. I don't have a good hypothesis there for it, but could have been something kind of weird with the two buckets and the longer grass. And it really looked like that odor was just kind of bouncing around a little bit in there, but she solved it on her own and looked really good doing it. So I would count that as a success.
Okay. And so I'll start using a little bit fresher stuff too, and that'll help her.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep working on her sit indication. I know you've never trained dogs to search for golf balls, but what my husband did is he brought home broken golf balls from the golf range that they get mowed and they break. And the inside of them smells, I mean, I can smell the inside. So I didn't know if it was be good to use the broken pieces, or if the whole golf ball is going to be sealed so much that he's not going to get that odor, so that I'm teaching him to search for the wrong odor.
Yeah, I would probably go with just the whole ones if you don't need to find broken ones. Because yeah, it sounds like the odor is probably pretty different on the inside. The only benefit to getting him used to going for the smaller ones would be to then be able to cut that size down and make it kind of like what we do with Kong.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's about all I've got this month, and we'll keep working.
Yeah. Does anyone have any other questions or anything they'd want to bring up to Alice before we move on?
I just put it in the chat. I got here a few minutes late. So what type of scat were you using?
This was domestic dog scat.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I don't know if you can see the chat, but I said it looks like your dog really enjoys searching.
Let me stop share and then I can probably see the chat.
What sort of temperature is it when you're doing those searches, Alice?
Yesterday was our hottest day this year so far, and it was in the mid 80s when we did the searches. But most of our days are still cooler. So mid 80s would be what, 38 C? I can't translate unless I use Google.
Yeah. I think 85 was 30.
Okay. All right. So it was like 30 or 31 C. And there wasn't much wind. And now we're cooling down again. So it'll probably be in the 70s for this week.
I've just noticed, so it wouldn't apply here because it was hot, but I've noticed like sometimes when it's cold, depending on the type of grass, the odor kind of sinks in and gets stuck. So it can be hard for them to source it sometimes. They need to figure out where all the edges are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I know we noticed here when it's really hot and really humid, like odor is it's kind of like so volatile that even though you're working with something that's kind of low volatility, or there's not a lot of odor that comes out of it, but because it gets so dispersed with that high heat, high humidity, you end up with like kind of a big, very low concentration cloud. But yeah, I would overall kind of like that training session looked really, really good. I don't really have any feedback for you or anything big to change right now. Like keep doing what you're doing. As far as the lids, like you've identified what's going on there and have a plan to keep working on it. So yeah, I think you're doing all the right things right now, which is always great to say.
Okay, thank you. And Megan, when you notice that the odor sinks into the grass, you've noticed that with a lot of different things, not just like really dry stuff, but how about like a little bit fresher stuff? Would I still maybe have that same problem?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's still true of essential oils.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
What are some of the things you guys look for to decide on like how the odor is moving besides the actual wind itself?
I mean, there's the entire book, the Osterkamp book, weather, terrain, detection, weather, terrain, and scent movement. That would be a good one to, yeah, kind of get your hands on and just try to start digging into, because yeah, it's kind of, honestly, there's so much that in some ways it gets a little bit overwhelming and almost gets unhelpful. I personally find it really helpful to like, I bought smoke bombs and I played around a lot with those as we were doing our class last fall. And that was really helpful for me to like, I would set off a smoke bomb and then do a search with the dog. So I could see like, here's a visual representation of in theory what the odor is doing, and here's how my dog reacts to it. So I could kind of learn that. And then what I've been experimenting a lot with lately is when I'm doing searches right now, I am doing 2 hides for a lot of my searches, and I'm placing one in direct sun and one in full shade.
Oh, cool.
Okay, nice.
Practicing, like really trying to like get myself used to what things look like in my environment. And I think a lot of these things, like there are some hard and fast rules. Like obviously if you're downwind of something, that's where the odor is gonna be going. But a lot of it is so dependent on the vegetation and like the rest of the climactic conditions that it's really hard to say. It's not like you can always say that because something is in full sun, it's going to be easier or something like that. You know, it kind of depends.
Sorry, I realize that's a really broad question.
No, but I think like the important
It's a good question.
It's a good question, and it's like this is what we're here for. Like, Big thing, get the Tom Osterkamp book. That's like the
Yeah.
best resource I've found on it. And then like buy some smoke bombs. You can get pretty decent smoke bombs. Wait until right after 4th of July, all of you Americans.
Yeah.
Megan, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sure there's times you can buy discount fireworks in Australia, or maybe not because you just burn the entire country.
It's very difficult. You can only buy them in like 2 places in the whole country because they're mostly illegal because of people blowing up their hands.
We did have 2 kids in my high school kill themselves with fireworks, so that makes sense.
Oh
Oh,
no. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Small town stuff, you know, you get bored and
Oh,
yikes.
That got dark.
It's so dark.
Yikes.
So dark.
Megan, if you're still
Okay,
interested.
Anyway,
Sorry, I
so-
didn't mean to derail us.
No, it's fine. You're not derailing at all. This is the sort of stuff we should be talking about. So buy smoke bombs right after 4th of July. I bought a bunch of, there was like 6 packs of like these little tiny smoke bombs. They were colored. They only put off like a half minute of smoke, but it was like $3 for a 6-pack of them right after 4th of July. So I just bought like 10 of them, and I'm gonna do the same thing this year. Rather than like, you can buy these like HVAC specific smoke bombs, but they're a lot more expensive. And definitely big rule for smoke bombs, do not use them inside. They will stain your walls.
Oh yeah.
And then like practice kind of like, if you don't have a clear goal for your training session on a given day, you don't have something specific you're working on with your dog, then try setting up different hide placements and asking yourself, okay, when I put this in the corner, what does my dog's behavior look like? What am I getting out of this? When I put this one in the direct sun and this one in the shade, what does that look like? When this one is right under the one tree in the yard, what does my dog's behavior look like? And really trying to like get used to that in your specific area is going to be really, really helpful. And like, yeah, try, one of the pieces of homework we had for our class last year was we had people do the same search, like the same setup, various times throughout the same day, or, you know, throughout a day, you know, various times in a week. So you could see that like, okay, when I do this same search at 5 in the morning, when the air is really still and you get a lot of like either fumigation or ponding, here's what the dog does, versus then even like the minute the sun comes up and over the horizon and the winds pick up, like here's how this looks different. And those sorts of things are all just like super duper helpful to like really intentionally practice for yourself.
Yeah, so more
Yeah,
like a
that's
training
kind of how
log.
I-
Sorry, Megan, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's kind of how I noticed that. Like, there's a couple spots that I sort of do regular training at throughout the year, and so I'll kind of have that baseline of what does it look like searching in grass in like a huge range of conditions in this particular place, and that's where I start to pick up those like finer details that aren't affected by all the macro differences.
It sounds like what I could do is treat this a little bit more like a scientist and record all the like observational stuff at the get-go of like, what's our temperature, what's our humidity, oh, blah, 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 blah. Because they're numbers that don't mean anything to me until like I look them up. I can't tell what the humidity is like off the bat. So yeah.
No idea. And so much of it too is hard because like I know for a lot of larger scale air movements, it's not so much about the absolute temperature, but it's about whether the temperature is rising or falling. And you know, whether your barometric pressure is rising or falling. And like it just, the thing with scent stuff and like scent movement is like, I know I'm at this point with like, you know, the Dunning-Kruger curve. Like I'm at this point where I feel like I can explain the basics well. And then as soon as I go beyond that, I'm like, I feel like I know nothing and don't understand anything. And it's all just like mystery magic. And that is like a normal part of this, I think, because it is so complicated. And like, I never really got the hang of like what barometric pressure was in like my high school weather unit of, you know, earth science class. So it's challenging with some of those sorts of things.
Hey, I put a link in the chat for a smoke stick that I bought, and it works really well. It puts out a lot more smoke
cool.
than a candle, so you can use it outdoors, and it doesn't smell up your whole house. So You can use
I
it
have
in,
been wondering
supposedly
how
use
those
it
things
indoors.
were. I haven't gotten one yet because I wasn't really sure how
Yeah,
they were. That's awesome.
Yeah, you have to burn the wick for, it's like a big thick wick and you burn it for a while. And then when you blow it out, it smokes for enough time so you can see the wind. So,
Cool.
and like I said, it's not as bad as like a candle. Because right now I can smell a candle that got blown out in this house, but with the smoke sticks, I never could smell it for that long.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and it doesn't stain. I saw the one that you linked was orange. Okay.
No, I have never noticed that it stains it. I mean, I haven't used it that many times in the house.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would actually in this house. I don't notice if it would stain anything or not. I don't know if I'd see it, but so far so good.
Well, I mean, at least it's not super obvious right away, which I think is what it would be with the smoke bombs. I think you would know right away that they were staining your house blue.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and then yeah, so Sonja also mentioned in the chat there's some year-round fireworks stores outside of Las Vegas. I think also a lot of reservations will have year-round fireworks stores. So depending on where you need to go. Again, Caisa and Megan can't help you there, but for all of our Americans, we can give some tips there. And I know I'm going to be restocking all my smoke bombs when I go back to the US in July.
I think we can get. I've been thinking about buying like an actual smoke machine, and I think you can get the little HVAC canisters. So
Yeah.
they're just super expensive.
Yeah, as far as like, I don't know what the fire department says about it, but as far as like my personal comfort setting off fireworks, the smoke bombs are, I think they're safer than sparklers by a mile. So. Yeah. Okay. Anne, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, I had an interesting day at the risk of oversharing. I was supposed to have a scent work class earlier today, and I got this back spasm as I was working in the field for work today, and kind of was like down for the count for the afternoon. And then I totally misremembered the time for my class. Normally, like all my other weeks, all the other days of the week, I have a class at 7 for my dogs. And tonight was like the 6 o'clock. And I totally was like 6:45. I was getting ready to head out. And I was like, oh, wait, no, like I've totally missed it. But I say all that because I kind of just kind of spent the evening relaxing with my dogs, and it was very nice. And kind of made me kind of rethink maybe my approach to training to work that in a little more. And just kind of that time with them where maybe we're not training and we're just kind of together a little bit. So having said all that, I don't have a video. I had this like plan. I was gonna, video all these things this week, and I didn't do that too. So but I did notice one thing. So I guess for those I haven't met yet, like I have one dog who's a border collie who's 12, and then I have a younger setter who's a year and a half now, which is crazy that she's that old. But I was doing some agility stuff with him yesterday, and I was putting out, so I was trying to have my older border collie who's used to kind of being by my side all the time kind of go out away from me a little bit with agility. And so I was setting like a dish, and I had like a specific marker, for the yes marker kind of, but for the dish for her to go out. And I noticed so I was sending her way away from me, and then she's getting to this dish, and then she was staying at the dish, and it really looked like she was trying to do her indication behavior at the bowl where her treat was. And
Very interesting.
I wish I had a video of this because I started her with scent work late. I think she was 12 already when I started her with scent work, and I started like a scent work class locally, and that we started with containers. But she's done agility for like 10 years, and so she's used to like all these games where you put your paws on box and you put your back feet on the box and you like go around the box. And so it was a long time in this class for her to realize, like, you want me to sniff the thing? Like, you don't want me to put my front paws or my back paws or my left paw or my right paw? Like, she would try all the things. And I was like, you know, and she's super smart. So she also gets frustrated when she's like not understanding like what I want. So it's kind of been this process for her to figure out like, oh, it's like my nose and the smell that you want me to do with these things. So I thought it was interesting because I hadn't used like a bowl as like a thing to send her away from me before in agility, but she was staying at the bowl and then she was putting her face in the bowl. And I've been trying to do like a nose indication for scent. So it sort of made me wonder, and like I said, I don't have a video, but it sort of made me wonder if she still maybe doesn't quite get the nose work or the scent part of it. Or if she's just generalizing, like, I'll do it with smell and I'll do it with bowl, I'll do it with all the things. So I wish maybe I had some more video or information to share, but it was like really telling that she you know, like did all these jumps. She went to a tunnel. She's super far, maybe like 100 feet away from me. And then there was one treat in the bowl as her reward. You know, I tell her like a marker and she gets that. And then I literally like walk like 75 feet and she stayed at the bowl looking at it until I put another treat to reward her, which isn't the behavior I was asking her for, but is what I'd like her to do for scent, which she actually hasn't been doing as well. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or experience, or maybe I'm just sharing with that too. Yeah, it was just interesting to me. I was like, oh, I guess I have to kind of tease that out a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, we just worked on the opposite of this skill, kind of intentionally with Taylor and her younger dog Canna, where Canna struggles to stay still. She's a mini Aussie. She's wiggly. And we worked on what I suggested was like, let's leave the alert alone and like work on some stationary long-term behaviors, you know, sit stays and down stays separately, and then try to layer that in back when we teach the alert. And it sounds like your girl has kind of the opposite, where she has all of these super duper operant skills and she's an amazing trainer. And then we just trainee, I guess, we just saw her like make this other connection potentially with your alert. I would be pretty excited about that, as long as it's not going to get in the way of your agility. I would suspect it will start bleeding over for you into where you want it in the alerts. But yeah, you're kind of right as far as this, like, it can be really hard for these really operant dogs. This is Barley, what he struggled with, because we did a couple years of agility before we really got into nose work. Was actually more just like he was just kind of constantly looking at me and constantly like asking for instruction. And like, if he could have had me tell him left, forward, right, forward, left, you know, like he would have been much happier at first.
Same dog.
Yeah, border collies, man. And then there's Niffler, who's still a border collie, but just, you know, intact teenage boy. I think Trump's border collie at some points.
I don't know. I kind of think he's secretly a Labrador sometimes.
He might be. Given the way he's maturing, I'm like, I am ready for adulthood. But anyway, with Barley, what we saw, like, I found it really helpful for Barley to build a lot of his search skills with primary reinforcers and then layer that target odor back in, because like he knows he has to use his nose to search for something he really wants when it's something he really, really wants, versus like, yeah, exactly. Especially with like stuff like containers or in like a training room, and like, God forbid you're training in the same area that you also do agility stuff. You're just going to get so many of these other behaviors. So I that was like 5 different tips that were all a little half-baked. I don't know how much that helped or what that sparked for everyone.
I think so. I haven't had her search for food, and she's super food motivated. I did have Zuzu, yeah, who isn't food motivated doing that, but now I'm thinking from that might be great thing to try with her.
Yeah, I think that might help a lot, just kind of build those skills and build that you know, build up the nose time, build up kind of that habit in a way where like she knows very clearly what's earning her reinforcement because it's just finding the thing. And it's, you know, and then like Alice said, you can run into some problems then where, you know, now she's got her little guy who doesn't really care about finding the ball because he just wants to find the food, but we can still kind of remedy that with how we pair and how we kind of make that next step going further on. But like even with my experienced search dogs, like just today with Niffler, I put in the chat that I also just had a really nice relaxing day with Niffler, and one of the things that we did was we just played some kind of no rules fetch. But every 3 or 4 throws, I intentionally threw the ball where he couldn't see where it landed, and he just had to work to find it a little bit. You know, and just really, really like low key bonding stuff, but also helped build a little bit of like that one skill that can still be helpful long term.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think, and that may remove some of the elements that are confusing her a little bit too, if I do that way. So that sounds like a good plan to give it a try.
Yeah, especially for our border collie trainiacs, like just figuring out ways to make it really clear and really different.
Trainiac. Trainiac. That's such a funny word. I love it.
That's what we called I worked at Boulder Valley Humane Society on their behavior team just, like, 1 day a week last winter, and that's what we called our really high energy, high arousal dogs that needed like 3 hours of one-on-one attention a day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, those were the dogs that paid my paycheck last winter. Yeah, very cute. Boulder Valley Humane, they're good at branding. Okay, Megan, are you ready to go, or should we scooch on to someone else and then circle back to you?
Yeah, I can probably go.
Okay. Actually, I'm so sorry, Megan. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say for Anne? Any other questions, follow up? And then we'll go to Megan. I'm so sorry, Megan.
I didn't care.
Hold off there, Megan. Hold off.
Just take care of your back, Anne. Don't
Yeah,
go
that
near
too.
it.
Thank you. I'm feeling so much better now. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Megan, now we're ready to go. I'm still working on my classroom management skills.
I've been teaching for 10 years and I'm still working on them. So I don't know if it's just like my flaw or classrooms in chaos. That's what I choose, the story I choose to tell myself about it. So what have we been doing? Merlin thinks that only we is cool. So it's been like forced back to foundations, which is good because there's some stuff I want to work out with our dream final response, but also makes me sad because I would really like a little more balance in the training structure. And I was super excited because before he decided only we was important, we were like starting to build a little bit of search strategy and starting to build a little bit of duration and all the fun stuff, where you kind of see them come into their own. But instead, we've been doing train final response, the most boring part of scent work. But it's been interesting because I did pick up like a couple of holes in our overall training. Like, he pretty much, if he's in full sniffy mode and I cue him, unless we're doing like a little drill where it's like the same thing over a bunch of times, or I've done some sort of warm-up activity and then like it's not a big leap, the likelihood that he will respond to a down cue and not, I don't know, this is like I have some video, but I'm not sure if I'm sad or happy about this because he's like, no, go away. I'm looking at the thing in the way that I've chosen. So he's like super committed to telling me that the thing is there. He's just not doing it in the way that I would currently like. So it's like quite good, but also he can't hear me. So there's that. And so I just went back to a bit of cue discrimination, verbal discrimination, and like toy games, like with that. So we've been doing a bunch of that. And then we've been trying to work on sand. He likes to search with his feet. in the sand. So that's the area that we're going to search for underground orchid. It's not flat out sand, but it is a sandy base with kind of a light soil over the top. So I'm probably overcomplicating it and by trying to proof the behavior perfectly on sand, but I feel like that would give me greater confidence in the field, and the area that I have to train in a house that will allow me to do buried hides without killing Jeremy's lawn and being hated forever is sand as well. So I would like that installed so that I can bury the hides in my square of sand, basically. It's hard though, because yeah, like he wants to dig in the sand, but he clearly is, and I think I had a little video of this last month maybe. Anyway, he uses his foot to like move the sand around, and the story I'm going to tell myself about that is my best interpretation is he's actually trying to release odor. Like he does it where he's like sniffing, and then he'll like get his little foot and be like, and so he is working, but I don't want that foot movement. So I've been trying to work it backwards from the train finder response, basically. So we've been going through Paul's book and working a bit more on like just really strengthening the foundations, and then going on the sand and just doing the like down toy. And then we've also just been doing little speed drills with this odor, like approaching from different directions and trying to get the indication. So it's really more operant, the whole thing. I'm trying to keep it operant for now. And I have experimented with trying to transition it a little bit to non-operant. I sort of will get like one rep and then it's back to using the foot. There's definitely an arousal component there. Like I've had more success if I'm using food, but he's not a highly food driven dog, so I have to use quite high value reinforcers like cheese or steak basically, or he'll be like whatever. And even with those, like I notice the energy is down, but like if I do multiple reps, I kind of start to see his focus dropping. So it's clear, it's like he's not doing it, and he is improving in the precision when I do that, but it's definitely not as good as ball. So there's some trade-offs, I guess, with that strategy. So I've been trying to figure out like what a good strategy is, basically. Yeah. So there's the like long brain dump of the trials and tribulations of my month. On the plus side, we also I've been working on buried odor just in pots with like I have a pipe and I'm making it deeper and deeper, and he's just killing that. Like, so he's got it right every time. The only false indication that I had was on residual odor, and I just waited and he changed his mind and found the correct one. So that was really made me happy. So I need to increment that. So yay. Okay, so I got 2 videos. One's just doing some like inaccessible searches in the house, and then he doesn't do his indication, so like to show you like how he's not responding. And then the other one is I've got like a party version of the downs on sand, like when it worked, and then I've got like a terrible bin fire version, and it seems to vacillate. It's not getting consistently better. There's like, so I don't know, I must be doing something, or it could, maybe it's just the state of arousal and I have to pick that apart. So let's see how we go with those.
Well, we're here for the bin fire training sessions as well.
We all need to see those.
I know.
It's so depressing. Okay, screen.
I should go back and find some of my real trash training from last fall with Niffler, when I was just like panicking about whether or not he was gonna even be able to stay around. I was like too upset to share them online, but I can find some bad ones to share on Facebook for us all. Oh no, okay. What about April 1 despair? Oh,
You see
Megan.
my terrible naming. This is I tried to get him to search outside and I just gave me nothing and I was so depressed. I went home and I just like didn't train for 2 days. It was really sad. Okay, sorry. Okay. Here's my oh, actually this is not the deep and accessible that I thought it was, but so this is a little series I did when he finally paid attention to me one day. And it's in an environment that has very little dogweed but is novel. It's just like a school around here. And I'm just putting it was basically the last month, put the thing in weird places. Turns out that he does very bad things when he can't get to the odor. He tries to pull the odor out and bring it so he can do the response. Anyway.
Oh my god,
got a
I
lap.
got good mouth odor too.
It's awful. It made
You
me
saw
so
it,
sad. So
right.
this is like stuck on with tape, this one.
Thought I
And I've
checked
never
in.
used tape ever before. So he's searching. He is still searching even though he's got his mouth open. Like he's basically bracketing here. It's under this table. So then he looked at me, didn't do his alert. And that one was good, I guess. I just paid him because he couldn't really get to it.
You ready, spaghetti? Ready. Bryson. That is where it was before.
Sorry for the shit video. I didn't bring my tripod this day.
I must translate.
It's under this table. And he picked it off. And I was too slow.
Chop.
And he did the down.
Chop. Yes.
Now it's in a cube.
Bryson.
So he's trying to tell me it's in there. And then he's trying to source it. And now he's brought it to me.
Yes. No. Oh no. I did mark that. Ready? Go. Where is it? Yes.
So then I don't really know what to do. Like,
Good boy. That was new. We don't.
because he
Another
doesn't
one?
respond to the cue.
Okay.
If I say
Ready?
down, he doesn't do it. This one's under something. Oh, he did it!
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess I just don't really know. He often just doesn't respond to the cue, and so I'm not really sure what to do about that.
I think your idea with the speed drills is probably a good practice to work on for that. And yeah, maybe for now, stuff like deep accessible where it's kind of like he can't quite get to source and it may be physically challenging to do the alert. Let's take a pause on those for now.
Okay.
Until we've got that alert really, really solid again. Just because anything where we're kind of setting up a training scenario that makes the alert harder is probably not helpful for him right now. Yeah, and the like trying to pull it off and retrieve it is pretty common. I said for labs, but honestly, the last patron I think that we had a dog that really struggled with that was Taylor with Kepler. And we can double check with her. It seems like Kepler has a lot of the same things that Merlin has had. But I believe basically what we did is we went back and we like worked really, really hard on the alert in a totally separate scenario and really worked on like building that up and some toy skills as well. Because he was constantly trying to like pull the hide out and like spit it at her. And if he couldn't get it right away or if she couldn't mark and reward right away, he was like barking and spinning and screaming and, doing all sorts of mini Aussie things. Which we're doing a lot of breed stereotypes today, but
I mean, so like he's the only reason it worried me. Like my other dog has done that.
yeah.
There in this, but she's much more operant. She'll respond to a cue, so it was really easy for me to just like insert the cue. And I'm not saying he doesn't. It's just that when he's searching, he like recall is pretty much all I've got. In terms of behaviors that he'll listen to. It's good because that's one that I want. And I'm trying really hard to insert the emergency stop in that by just doing it when he's like sniffing around. But yeah, so anyway, so that's like kind of a challenge. And because it was novel, yeah, I didn't really know what to do. Like I know we're gonna stop these, but like even in the house, like if it's in a drawer, he'll like sit instead and stare at it, or like just you could see he tried to tell me, like he would he turned around and looked at me, and I'm like, at that point, do I just pay him and then cue it, or try to cue it and then he doesn't listen to me? Like, because I feel like what I'm doing by not, I guess I don't have a strategy for if he doesn't listen to the cue, and or if I just wait to see what he will do and like hope that he does the final response. That's not what happens. He tries a different thing to tell me, come on, lady, it's here.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
I think probably we've got a couple different ideas here, but let's try to avoid, if we know he's not responding to the cue when the cue is given, that means we need to like make everything else way easier and try to set it up so that he doesn't need the cue.
Okay, so that I can do.
Yeah. And then when it does happen, yeah, you're right. You're in kind of a sticky situation because it's like, how hard do you want to insist on the alert versus rewarding everything else that happened? It's
especially because he's so sensitive to being wrong. Like he gets sad and goes off like really easily.
I would say I would err, if you don't get it, on the side of like in that moment, just reward. There always will be times as well in the field where you're not going to get that perfect trained final response anyway. And that's okay. Whether it's a cactus or the, like a rocky slope and the poop or the orchid is, on an inclination like this, and it's like whatever it is. Or like I know Barley he'll kind of do these like, sometimes he'll down, but then he pops up if there's tall vegetation. He likes to be able to see me as I'm coming towards him. And as much as I think it's good to have a really clear definition of your alert and have that be really obvious and clear for your dog, the alert also isn't like the most important part of your search. Especially for us, we're not defending our alerts in court. We're not, narcotics trainers. So it's a balance. I would say, like, again.
Okay, good. I feel justified in my strategy now, and like I'm not screwing myself.
Yeah. I would also say, like, I personally have found alerts to be something that can be rebuilt. Like, if what is bringing both of you joy as you're moving through adolescence is not working on alert stuff right now, that's okay. Work on sourcing. Like, try not to build any really nasty habits in around source. I know you're already aware of that, but I have to say it because it's being recorded.
Yeah, sure.
But like, if alert training feels shitty right now and he's not great at it because of his headspace and it's not something you like, you can rebuild it later.
Well, it's more like I'm just bored because I have ADHD and I don't like doing the same exact thing every day.
That counts.
But
that counts.
It's also because I am very excited because I cared that I existed this week, which was a massive victory. Like, because the last like 6 weeks have been just like peak adolescent rejection, and I've been feeling a bit sad. That side. Okay, if there's time, I have this one as well. Get it. Part 1. There we go. So we're practicing our drops. We can probably fast forward that. So, but just so that this is what I did before to work on that faster drop. And then start kind of even off. Bring it, which is nice. Wow! And then I think I did some with food to bring the arousal back down. Okay, there it is. Thank you. Okay. I think this
Megan
is
Niffler wants to train with you. He likes your training voice.
Oh, that's nice. I'll come train with you, Niffler.
Niffler, do you want to go to Australia?
So, here, foot. I don't have a good interruption strategy. I've just been using an LRS, but sometimes, yeah. I worry that it degrades my hand. Least reinforcing scenario, so pause and then ask for an alternate known behavior.
Okay. Yeah, I was Niffler.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's like a thing they use for.
Go ahead.
It's like a thing they use for cooperative care for like rhinos and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a strategy I'm super duper familiar with. I was thinking though, I wonder, so you said that if you wait out on the he tends to offer pretty much everything with the alert. Niffler loves your training voice. I wonder
I have good it's the dog training superpowers
you in there or a poison behavior then. Like, are we hitting this just so hard that in and of itself is becoming part of the problem?
The down or
yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of thinking back to you saying that if he doesn't offer it right away, he doesn't respond to the cue, and he tries a bunch of other things to the down. Like, that's odd to me. If you
it's only in the situation, so he'll like it's only when like if the thing is accessible and on the ground, he'll do the down like every time. I got some pots I can show of that behavior. But if it is high, like in the top drawer, then he'll like stare at it or sit. Or if it's in a thing and he's not really sure, maybe he doesn't know. Like, I noticed if he's not certain, I may have overdone the driving to source drills. Because if he can't get there, then he just like he does tell me he does his like little pause and look back, but he won't offer the down. He's like, well, not there yet. So well, you haven't paid me for this.
Okay. I would go ahead and particularly if he sits for something elevated, like up in a higher drawer, I would reinforce that. That has been my strategy with Barley. Like his alert is a down, but if something is high up, he tends to sit. And like again, we don't have to defend our alerts in court, so that works fine for me. The big thing that like I've been trying to figure out how to walk in like these mentoring groups is like the line between like I really believe we should have like a defined alert behavior that is really clear and really easy to see if your dog is far away or in thick vegetation or whatever. And also recognizing that like holding an alert can be a physically challenging thing or like not make sense to a dog given odor dynamics, and we need to be somewhat flexible in what we expect of our dogs in that moment. And like both of those things are true, particularly for stuff like inaccessible hides, elevated hides, those sorts of things. We do tend to get particularly down alerts struggle to maintain them in that situation, and that's not unusual at all. So I've
been reinforcing them with the rationale that actually that's how you train a cue hierarchy. So basically I figure I'm just worst case scenario, I'm just installing a hierarchy. So so this session actually went pretty well. It was a speed session. He had the one where he didn't do it, and I was using the ball and he didn't completely lose his mind. So that was I had another session where I rewarded the first one with the ball, and then all he could do was like search with his feet subsequently, and then it went really badly. So Yeah.
Megan, my dog also will like not want to focus, not want to work, even if the toy is present. So I just use a training vest where I like consistently every time it goes away. And that helps him like get into that routine of knowing that it's not in sight, it's not in play, it's put away in the vest. I do a trade. So I do his out, but then I give him food and I say trade, telling him like, okay, your toy's going away now. We're gonna go back to that, and that like cycle helps him like get into that mode again.
Interesting. I definitely use the same strategy with the trade, and I've been trying to. I actually started putting like like in this particular session, like having a scatter and like a now we're gonna go chill in our crate for like and wait while I move it around, like because we do that all the time anyway. But just like so yeah, sounds like maybe I could do a bit more of that. Yeah. So yeah, I think that top one's probably the bin fire, but I think maybe we run out of time. So
Yeah,
I
why
don't know
don't
if you
you
want to see it or not.
why don't you drop that one in Facebook and we'll talk about it there if you're comfortable with that. Are you on Facebook, Megan?
Just put my worst training on Facebook. Yeah, that's fine.
We can
Awesome.
do a dumpster fire training thread if you'd like. I can dig up a bad one. From
Yes, that would make me feel better as well
Okay,
as
remind me of
probably
that.
helpful for lots of people.
Yeah, remind me, and I'll find one, like one of the ones that made me like call Sarah Owings and Robin Grubel and be like, I need to pay you both for sessions. 'Cause-
I need to cry. Yeah, I'm crying.
yeah. Had a nice like $300 week where I was like, I need private training sessions with everyone I can think of all at the same time, which is not a great strategy.
I mean,
and you
if
raised
it
your hand
helps
there for a moment.
Sometimes I think it's more like therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was thumbs upping on the dumpster or bin fire training thread. I think that would be awesome. Because we all have that, right? So that would be awesome. I had a question, Megan, on those two. Was the second one, was there any odor involved with that, or was that down practice by itself?
No, there was odor. I could pull it back up, but he has like a toy that I've cut really small, that I just am placing out on the top because the goal is to eventually go to buried odor in that same area. So I'm trying to get a really thick reinforcement history on doing it down and not using our feet before I put it underground because he's already using his feet when it's placed out just like on the surface in that kind of uneven ground. So I don't want him trying to dig out the odor basically.
Yeah, well, and I actually we were
Gotcha.
just with Christine Figner here in Costa Rica talking about sea turtle nest detection, and she's having the same thing where she trying to figure out how to define the criteria of like it's okay for Fiona to scratch a little bit at the surface if she needs to like volatilize some odor and like release something, but we don't want her fully trying to dig out the nest. And we didn't necessarily come up with any like brilliant responses that I'm ready to share, but I think it's a common thing to struggle with buried hides, particularly in sand, where like a little bit of scratching to release odor or volatilize odor is pretty common and may not be something that is reasonable to try to eliminate completely, but like full on digging, like there's a limit somewhere in there. And like Megan, with your particular target odor, it might be something that we really want to try to eliminate. Fiona, or for Fiona with Christine, like she was comfortable with a little bit of scratching. She just didn't want full on digging.
Yeah, because the turtle eggs will be below, and like I know it's mostly the cloacal fluid that they're picking up on, and it's super low volatility for the sea turtles. So I can see why that would make sense. But yeah, with the orchid, like it could be depending on where the flower spike is, it could be just below the surface, and I just do not want any contact. Like they're. And it might not be like I said, I might be like overdoing it because the ground does have like it's not like that sand's all like dug up and moved around and like whatever because because we walk through there like to get to the thing, and I just haven't put any grass in because it's helpful for me to have sand in the backyard. But you know, like in nature, it's going to be like settled, like it's not a disturbed area. It's got a layer of leaf litter on top. Like it's so I'm probably maybe going
Well,
OTT, but I just because I know it's a sand substrate, I need
Yeah.
to use sand to train. So
I would say that's a great goal then. And then like let's figure out the steps as far as different substrates and different ways to bury it that make it really easy to set that up for success. Like I don't think it's a bad idea to get to
Yeah.
the point before we deploy that we can have it fully buried in loose sand and he doesn't paw after it. But like right now we need to figure out like, okay, do we have it under gravel? Do we have it under bricks? Do we have it under sheet metal, like plastic, like
Yes.
weird stuff that allows the odor
Why
to
am
come
I
out,
just
but it's
doing that? Yeah.
yeah, but
Like-
it's like shit to dig. Like he doesn't want to like, especially I'm thinking almost like plastics, rocks, metals, like stuff he's instinctively not going to want to paw at. Like how can we set up the training scenario to make it really easy for him to make the right choice and then move closer and closer towards that realistic final scenario?
Good idea. Okay, I'll think about that. That's great. I love
Okay.
it. Thank you.
All right.
Quick
Sonia,
in
I know you were in the
tiny-
morning. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, no, go, go, go.
I don't know, Megan, if this is me projecting or maybe if you look back at those two videos, the reason I asked was it looked like in the second video, he was like really relaxed and he was having a fun time, like doing his down. And in the first video, he looked to me like how my setter looks like when she's like a little overstimulated. And like that,
That
and
could
then
certainly
that
be
makes it
the
hard
case,
for
'cause
her to
one's
work.
in my backyard and the other one was like the first time I'd even tried to set an outdoor hide
okay.
in like 2 months because he has been incapable of doing anything except wee on things in
Mhm.
adolescent boy mode
Yeah.
for that period of time. So that wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. Yeah.
Yeah. And that might
good
change like what
observation.
you do going forward. Yeah, it is like in the second video, he seemed like really responsive when you're like what Kepler's response to your voice. But in the first video, he seemed like that like really put him like over the top. And maybe he's just grown up a little bit since the two videos. But that was just something, and again, like I know it's something I look at for my setters, so maybe I'm projecting, but maybe something to add.
I think it's just environment. Like maybe I was going too soon on the searching and I should have done some more obedience behaviors or something. But I just kind of I wanted an example of when he doesn't respond to the cue that we could look at. But I definitely think you're probably
Gotcha.
right about the arousal and stuff like that for sure.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thanks. That's a good point, Anne. And yeah, thanks for and I love when we all can like part of the joy of the group thing is I don't want everyone to just like silently be learning from like my thoughts on everyone else's things, but like I love when you guys are able to ask each other questions or even just kind of say exactly what you said there. Like I might be projecting, but I think I see. Like that's
feel free to
excellent.
disregard anything I say, but
No, I
Everything
think
in
you're
all of
probably
these
right. And I think the reason it's the environment.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on, Sonja and Caisa, you were both in the morning class. Did you have anything, Sonja? I know you didn't have video in the morning. If that's changed, nope. Still, yeah. Still got a busted ankle. All right. Well then, Madison, you are our last one for the night.
I'm not the level of you guys. I'm here to mostly observe,
Okay.
but
I keep
mean,
losing track of who's at what level.
that's fine. I mean, I would love to contribute sometime. I did have a very relatable experience to you, Megan, today. And like honestly though, like Bruce's whole training session or whole like sense knowledge, he's such a mouthy dude and he just wants to put his mouth on everything. Like he enjoys playing with his mouth in any way he can. Like he just wants to engage with and like I give him because he loves it so much, it's so fulfilling for him. He has a cue where he's allowed to like play with my hands with his mouth because he's just like, I just want to put him on.
Let me do it.
So like it's such a fulfilling thing for him. I'm having such a hard time breaking him putting his mouth on things. Granted, what he's searching for right now is pieces of a ball that he destroyed. So I'm probably not making it very easy for him in that regard. And then the other option would be like food. And then I was gonna do antler training with Sonja. And I was like, well shit, he's gonna put his mouth on that too. Cause that's so I'm not making it easy for him. I need to come up with something that like I was gonna do essential oils like months ago, but then when I heard about how volatile they can be, I was like, maybe that's not gonna be the one that I use. So I should just like find cat shit or something like that and use that or something.
I mean,
Uh
I don't know, like, isn't that super attractive to eat?
yeah, that's true. Something boring. I don't know, something that's boring to him.
Plants.
I have to come up with something
Plants.
because plants.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Great idea.
I also was
Because
just thinking,
he just loves to put his mouth on things.
I was also
go
just
ahead, Taylor.
thinking, Megan, this might be less helpful for you because I don't know what shipping may be like to Australia, but like if we've got these dogs that really they need to chomp, like so with the Malinois that I worked with at Working Dogs for Conservation, when we've got the really, really chompy boys, you know, that can play into then exactly which toy we're using as reinforcement and how we reinforce them. Like for the really, really chompy boys, I'm particularly thinking of Jax, the Malinois that I lived with for a while. He had these like, it was a big yellow ball. It was like this big. And it was just the right texture that he could like, it like filled his entire face and he could just like, you know, like really like oomph it. And that was like, one of the important things for all of his handlers to practice with him was to like let him give as many good big chomps as he needed before asking him to out, because like remembering that like the game of fetch is supposed to be a reward here, so if what he finds to be most rewarding is actually chomping the thing, like let him do that. He doesn't need to out it. So I'm trying to see if I can find on like Clean Run or somewhere like that exact toy. Obviously it's going to vary for like whoever your dog is. And like I certainly don't
for that reason.
like, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, I was gonna say actually that's pretty similar to Merlin's reward strategy. I have a fur ball and he just goes like, I actually did a formal assessment of like what toy he liked the most, and it was kind of hilarious because I had a small one and a big one, and apparently the small one is like turds and he hates it, and the big one is the best thing ever, so who knows. It's kind of, it's like obviously just exactly right for like mushing on, just like you said, and I just kind of let him mush it till he feels happy. Yeah,
it might have been this one. I'm gonna drop it in the link. Drop it in.
Cool.
It was just
cool.
like, also $3.99. That's, God, I wish my dogs.
Oh, that's way
really
cheaper than my
Oh yeah, I know the Durafoam ball.
Yeah, Barley also, these are one of Barley's favorites, are these like Chuck It Ultra Squeaks. I need to plug in my laptop.
They look fun.
But yeah, like I don't think that like picking the perfect toy is going to like fix all of your problems, but if we're like looking at a little bit of a functional assessment as far as like some amount of like chomping, oral, something is part of our problem, if we can figure out a good way to give them that as part of our strategy, like that should help take the edge off elsewhere. So it's just part of the plan.
And changing what we're searching
lately,
for, maybe changing the reward to have it be more mouthy, satisfying. And then like, yeah, it sucks because I just like, I took a step away to like be like, all right, well, let's get our indication down and show you that you're not supposed to put your mouth on it for your indication. And he got pretty good. And then we were like, Megan, I think who was saying that they were like, oh man, I don't want to do the indication work. It's so goddamn boring. And then, yeah, because it's the worst part of it, right? You're just like, are we done with this yet? Like, can we move on? And so then I even like stopped doing a whole lot of search stuff because I was like, I don't want to do it. It's boring. Like, I don't want to do this part. And so I was like, because it was like not rewarding to either of us. And so anyway, so we slowed down a little bit. I was like, we just got to get back to searching. I'm tired of this. So then we went back and our problem is still there. And I was like, all right, cool.
I fixed it before on my Australian Shepherd. She just picked everything up, every single thing. So I taught her nose hold. it was when I went from a sit to a nose hold, she just picked everything up. But I fixed that by doing shitloads of containers. She couldn't pick it up. And so then I had a really big reinforcement history. So whether you use pots or like any kind of structure where he literally can't put his mouth on it, just to get more reps, and then it's still fun. So
good point.
It might help, to do something like that.
Yeah.
I've been like hiding it under like because we mostly just do outdoor searches. So I've just been like hiding it under like brambles that like nothing prickly, but but all these like these like plants that just like kind of cover it in, and so he like can't really get to it, and so he's forcing himself to reward without doing that. But
we did. I think when I was first at Working Dogs for Conservation, one of their labs really liked to pull. We had zebra mussels in these little like PCR tubes, so like little plastic vials. And he loved to like gently like them out and then spit them at you. And we were doing boat searches, so what we were able to do a lot of is like just really getting those PCR tubes like up into like a hole in the motor or like the drain pipe or something like that. So which is also like realistically the most relevant places to be practicing for us. So, trying to think about ways to like hit both things, and then knowing that potentially as you layer it back in, it might become a problem again. But we can also think about like, different types of other containers that are just less tempting to mouth or paw at. I get kind of like what we were talking about with Megan, but also like knowing your dog. When I was talking to Christine earlier this week, like her dog Fiona had broken several mason jars back when she was in her like intense pawing phase. And so I'm just imagining like trying to use something like that with chiggers and probably ending up with like an ER visit for a torn paw pad. So know your dog and know what is going to be a sufficient deterrent and what they're just going to barrel through and then injure themselves.
I think I'm more scared of him injuring me. I've been just starting like with the antler training again today. And I was going like across my yard, like up to the hill, and just flinging it as far as I could. And when he would find it, he would come running at me, and he's run straight into me many times, but it's a big antler with a lot of tines like poking towards me, and he's running full blast. And I'm in my boots, so I'm trying to get against the side of the house, like he doesn't knock me down. And it's just, I was like, he's gonna kill me with one of these antlers. And then he won't drop it. He brings it to me, but then he takes off running through the yard. And I'm like, he's going to put his eye out. Like it's so dangerous. I need to put like big cotton blobs on the end of the pokey part or something. And then like tearing back to me full blast. And I'm just like, oh, stop, drop. Anyway.
Oh, no. I think we have the same dog.
He's got this dog's enthusiasm is just off the charts. I mean,
I love him. I want him really bad. I want to like see him. I like the video.
I'll try to take a video and post it on the Facebook group. Yeah. Of him terrifying behavior with antlers in his mouth.
Yeah, no, that sounds terrifying.
So
but thanks for enthusiasm.
Yeah.
I told Madison, like at first I was tried to tie a string on it, like paracord, so that I could have something to fling it, and then it was like bright orange. And I realized that didn't work, because then when he would find it, he would drop it and get a hold of the cord and start just flinging it like and I'm yelling for the other dog to get away. So I was like, okay, take the string off. The paracord is like no attachments. That's not going to work.
So small thing I would consider trying, just saw off all the tines, so it's at least like each tine is like only this long on the edges and they're blunt on the end.
Right.
Yeah. that would be
Yeah,
probably the
I
first.
I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I should do. At
And
first
okay, so quick question for you, Sonja. If so, as he's
yes.
rocketing back to you with the antler the first time, if you were to
Yes.
pull out like top reinforcer and
Oh,
ask him to
no,
tug or ask him
yeah,
to
I had
fling it.
smoked turkey in my hand. He was
Okay.
just like, I've got to run for, 5 minutes with this in my mouth, like
Okay.
full speed, like a fool. And then, yeah.
I was hoping that we might be able to get like a transfer, like I'm thinking of like Shade Whitesell's videos of her teaching her dogs to switch, where the dog is basically so she's working with like IPO dogs, so protection sports, and she's teaching the dog to drop the decoy's sleeve or leg, which I guess is also a sleeve, and switch to a tug toy that she has.
Uh-huh.
And she has like a really nice, clean way of teaching the dog to like drop something that's really reinforcing and then switch over to something that the handler has. And she uses that to teach it first before actually asking for like an actual out or an actual drop. If we don't have anything that is like that exciting for him, we'll have to like build it up a little bit differently. But I'll see if I can dig up a video of how she does it with the switch. Because that's kind of what I was envisioning, is like if we could get him as he's like rocketing back with thing A, and then you like present the bunny fur tug, or the like milking udder rubber thingy majiggy that all the agility people use that a lot of dogs really like whatever it is, and then he's like, oh shit, yeah, and like spits it out and takes what you've got.
Yeah, but you got to teach the game in the context before the high value thing is there. You got to teach the game first.
Yeah.
Okay. So I took one of Shade's classes on that because Emmett, he's a German Shepherd Malinois cross, and he took me a year to get him to trade anything. And what she starts out with, what Shade started us with, was 2 identical things. So if the antler is what he loves the best, get another antler. And then since both things are antlers, you show him that you have an antler and you can make that antler more exciting than the one he's already got. And then as soon as he drops it, you throw the second antler, and that's the beginnings of getting him to drop something and switch to another thing.
Yes, but since he's so amped up with the antler, I would start the game with something that's not going to amp him up so much. So 2 sheepskins. Yeah. So 2 is 1 and 1 is none is the saying that goes with teaching the switch game, is that you always have those 2 toys on your hand so that you can alternate between the 2. You always have the same highest value to transfer, and then you could start transferring it with you could try doing 2 antlers, or I would almost just be surprise him with, once he's really good at the switch game, just be like, you just bring the antler back and you're like, switch, and you're like, you've got this toy, and then he's gonna be like, wait, what do you have? You've got another toy, and
right.
I don't know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I had to learn to do that with the squeaky ball because he would run to me, but he wouldn't give it up. And so we always, when I send him out I've been having people walk and run with him, and I'm like, you need 2 balls. 2 squeaky balls. Yeah. That's how to get him back.
Yeah.
And that's the only way he'll drop one, is when you're squeaking the other. Yeah.
That's actually.
But yeah, I'll check that out. And if you can find whatever
I'll
link
poke around a little bit. I was just doing a little bit trying to see if I could find anything on it, but I do think her toy skills class, Shade Whitesell's toy skills class, is a fabulous class. She's a really, really good, clean trainer.
Okay. It's enrolling for April.
Ooh.
Oh, fantastic.
Right now.
Timely. But yeah, actually the same Malinois I was just talking about that needed the big orange or the big yellow ball. He had 2 because of this exact thing. We had to do it's funny how much he's coming up as same problems. And there was a pretty funny experience when we were in northern Montana doing black-footed ferret surveys. I was playing with him and just working on some skills after a survey day, because I think he hadn't worked that day. And I flung the ball and it ended up on the roof of the hotel. And I had and it we only had 2 of these balls.
Oh, no!
The specific one that we had had been discontinued. It wasn't the exact one I sent the link to, and I had to spend 2 hours like working with hotel staff to like get them to let me go up on the roof to get this ball back. So I was like, I cannot express to you how important it is that I get this exact dog toy back like right now.
Kayla, I thought you were gonna say he tried to go on the roof and he had some.
Thank
Like,
God,
I was
no.
imagining him like climbing up.
No, because I mean, like we've all seen the videos of the Malinois. Like he would have done it. He would have broken his back, and I would
Right.
have been in big trouble. No, luckily it was a high enough roof that I think he just literally didn't see where it went. And once it was up there, I was like, oh shit, and I threw the other one.
We're like,
and then I just didn't ask for an out. But
yeah, awesome.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah,
God,
Switch
we're
game
gonna
is
be-
good. You can look up a lot of.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say the Switch game is good. It can be a lot of fun. I found
Yeah.
that it also kind of ruined my out, so I would just be careful. Like my out used to be so clean with Bruce, he would just like rock it off of the toy, and now he's kind of like, well, if you don't have another one, like I don't know, lady. So there's just caveat is what I found there is that it can, if you rely too much on it and you already have a good out, it can start to make your outs kind of sticky. And we haven't really recovered our
Yeah.
outs yet from that.
Thank you. Is the upcoming class, Shades class, is it on Finzi or on her website?
Yeah, let me just I
Some
was
fancy.
gonna pull up the excuse me. I need to sneeze. and
I
it's
just
not
got
up.
an ad for it yesterday, but yeah, that's how I taught Merlin as well, because he thinks that he's a baby Malinois and he gets so excited when the toy's out. He just like bites you on the hand if you don't have clean mechanics.
Okay, let's see. So it actually looks like it looks like it's going to be in June. So the two classes she's teaching in April are Crucial Concepts of Competition and Flashy and Confident Heel. So yeah, it looks like in June we've got toys. So I'll drop that into the chat. But yeah, it's going to be in June 1. This is one that I haven't taken yet and keep thinking about. But yeah, okay. So that's in there now for you, Sonja. And I will look, I'm Facebook friends with her, and I know I've seen her share videos of just like an example of this. I think you probably have a pretty good idea of it, and it's not like a really good instructional video, so I might try to look for it, but it probably won't necessarily help all that much from here. But yeah, and I think as Madison said, potentially even working on like a queue for like a recall to a tug, which probably don't do this until your doctor clears you also. But like working on like a recall to a tug or a recall to a toy. And then building that in when he's got something else in his mouth already is probably going to be the way to go. That's what I've worked on with Barley, is like I first taught like the cue to tug on cue. Then I started doing like I would recall, and then as he's coming back to me, I'd say tug and present the toy. And then I would start doing that when he already had something in his mouth or when there was something else going on. So then he's learning to like, as he's rocketing back to me, spit something out and latch onto the tug.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we have gone a
This is
little
all
bit
super-
over, and I need to go make some dinner before my last call of the night. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, I
Thanks
think we're gonna
everyone. That
wrap
was
up
really
here.
fun session.
Recording
see
is gonna
everyone.
go up, and I'll share it.
Nice to see your faces. Yeah.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
was awesome, everyone.
to see you all.
Really good questions and discussion today. Really nice.
Yeah, so it's a good one.
Bye.
Yeah, have a good
Yeah.
one, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.